Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Anglo High School. Uh, Chapter number 13. Why do we fall ill? In previous lecture, we have completed chapter number 11, Work and Energy. In this lecture, we will discuss chapter number 13. Why do we fall ill? Now, first of all, activity 13.1. We have all heard. We have all heard of the earthquakes in Latur, Bhuj, Kashmir, etc., or the cyclones that lashed the coastal region. Think of as many different ways as possible in which people's health would be affected by such a disaster if it took place in our neighborhood. Okay, so in activity 13.1, it is given that some natural phenomena are given, that is earthquakes, cyclones. So just because of that, how people's health is affected, you have to think about that. How many of these ways we can think of are events that would occur when the disaster is actually happening? How many of these health related events would happen long after the actual disaster but would still be because of disaster? Why would one effect on health fall into the first group and why would another fall into the second group? Now, when we do this exercise, we realize that health and disease in human communities are very complex issues with many interconnected causes. Now, when in activity 13.1, you bifurcate that if the health issues just due to disaster and just due to some another things, there can be two groups. Okay, so disease in human being communities are very complex issues. मतलब कि जितने भी ह्यूमन बींग्स के अंदर डिजीजेस है वो एक कॉम्प्लेक्स इश्यूज है with many the ideas of. We also realize that the ideas of what health and disease mean are themselves very complicated. When we ask what causes disease and how we prevent them, we have to begin by asking what this notions means. मतलब कि अगर कोई एक पर्टिकुलर डिजीज हो रहा है, ओके, सो उसके कॉजेज किस वजह से हो रहा है एंड हाउ वी प्रिवेंट देम, मतलब कि उसको क्योर कैसे करना है, उसको प्रिवेंट कैसे करना है, उसको पूछने के लिए हमको सबसे पहले उसके नोशंस पता होना चाहिए. We have seen that cells are the basic unit of organisms. Cells are made up of a variety of chemical substances, that is protein, carbohydrates, fats or lipids and so on. Cell is a dynamic place. Something or the other is always happening inside them. Complex reactions and repair goes on inside cells. New cells are being made in our organs or tissues. There are various specialized activities going on. The heart is beating, the lungs, the breathing, and the kidney is filtering urine. The brain is thinking. So in paragraph that is given that cell is the basic unit of organisms. As we know that cells have many organelles like mitochondria, ribosomes, and other organelles. So something is always happening in cell. That's why it is called that cell is a dynamic place. In every person's body there is something happening, and just like in human body, that is beating, heart is beating, the lungs are breathing, the kidney is filtering urine, the brain is thinking. So this type of processes is always going on in the human body. All these activities are interconnected. As you know that if some part of the body is affected by a disease, your body processes is every body process is getting affected. If you have fever in your body, so some of the other effects on the body is also there, that you feel the sickness, that you feel that your body is getting loose. Okay, if you have any infection in stomach, you have also panic in some other places and your body get loose. So if one part of body is affected with some disease or injury, that your whole body or is interconnected. That's why in whole body you have some sickness. Now, for example, if the kidneys are not filtering urine, poisonous substances will accumulate. Under such conditions, the brain will not able to the think properly. For all these interconnected activities, energy and raw material are needed. Suppose, for example, it is given that if kidney is not filtering the urine, so the function of kidney is to filter the urine. The urine is what is urine? That is the poisonous substances or the substances which can harm the body and useless for the human being. So if it will not filter the urine, then the poisonous substances will accumulate in your body. So under such conditions, if some infection or in some poisonous thing is in your stomach or kidney or something like body, so the brain will think about that only and it will not focus on some other things. So the mind will be disturbed. So all these things are connected with each other and it is interconnected with each energy and raw material is needed. Food is a necessity of cell and tissue functions. First of all, we take energy from food. So the food is necessity. Necessity means zaruri hai. The food is very necessary for the cell and tissue functions. If you do not have glucose or energy or ATP something like that, if you get from the food, the cell functions and tissue functions will be interrupted. Anything that prevents proper functioning of cells and tissues will lead to a lack of proper activity of the body. If something is missing from the food, so it will prevent that something is missing from the your food or some proper energy you are not getting, so it will affect the activity of body. The body will not work properly. It is in the context that we will look at the notions of the health and disease. Now 13.1, health and its failure. The significance of health. What is health? We have heard that the word health used quite frequently. We use it ourselves as well when we say things like my grandmother health is not good. Our teachers use this when they scold us saying this is not a healthy attitude. What does the word health mean? Okay, two different examples are given of health. That is, my grandmother's health is not good. What do you mean by that? She is feeling something not good. Okay, now when teacher says that this is not a healthy attitude, so it is not a good attitude. If we think about it, we realize that it always implies the idea of being well. Okay, so if health is not good, you mean that something is not being well. We can think of this well-being as effective functioning. For our grandmothers, being able to go out the market or to visit neighbors is being well, and not being able to do such thing is poor health. So if your grandmother or something in your family is not cannot do the daily things, it is the poor health. And if they can do something daily works, so it is being well. Now being interested in following the teaching in classrooms so that we can understand the world, it is a healthy attitude, while not being interested is a called the opposite. Health is therefore a state of being well enough to function well physically, mentally, and socially. Okay, so health is just not about the body; it is mentally, physically, and socially well-being. So here, 13.1.1, the significance of health. It's completed.